Hello, all. Welcome to another episode of AWS Show and Tell. I am Anil Nadiminti, joining from New Jersey today, and we're going to dive deep into AgentCore evaluations. Joining with me today are Ishan Singh and Akarsha Sehwag. So, uh, Ishan, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, absolutely. Hey everyone, I'm Ishan Singh. I'm a senior data scientist on the Amazon Bedrock go-to-market team, and very excited to be here.
Thanks, Ishan.
Hi everyone, my name is Akarsha Sehwag. I'm a part of AgentCore go-to-market team as well. I'm working as a Gen AI data scientist, and we are excited to be here today to share with you what AgentCore evaluations is all about and what can it provide you with. Thank you for joining.
Thanks, Ishan and Akarsha. So, I know you're in the same room. Is that in Seattle?
Yes, in
Excellent. So,
Seattle.
yeah, I'm joining from New Jersey, folks, and let us know where you're joining from. Today's session, we're going to focus on agent core evaluations, right? So we had a session on observability last week. Same time, I'll post a link in the chat. But uh, let's take an example of a use case, right? So where do we need evaluations, and let's try to picture this. So let's say we have a use case where we are building an agentic application, and we need to evaluate whether the agent is performing according to any of those metrics, right? So and then we had to see if the agent is calling the right tools, is it calling with the right parameters, and we are here to dive deep with Ishan and Akarsha today and understand how this fits in the big picture, right? Especially today we had an announcement of Sonnet 4.6 that's available. Ishan, how does that do we get started with 4.6? Do we use evaluations? Where do we get started?
Yeah. No, these are ready-to-go solutions. So yeah, we should definitely start using them. And today, as we are diving deeper into evals, we will talk a lot about how these different evaluators and how you can use different type of models for your evaluation tasks. So we will really get deeper into those today.
Excellent.
Very cool. I think with that we can get started. I will start with laying out some agenda for today. So first we will start with just like a very high level overview of what Agent Core is. Then we will dive deeper into the evaluation specifics, talking about the Agent Core evaluation service. We also have some demos and best practices for you. Precisely, we have 5 different demos so that we are really trying to make sure that you are able to learn how to set things up and be able to use those as you put your agents in production. All right. So with that said, Agent Core, Amazon Bedrock Agent Core, it has been out for a while now. We launched this in preview, I think July last year, and then it went GA. And among the offerings of Agent Core, we have now added evaluations, which sort of sits with observability. And I think, Anil, as you mentioned last week or last week, you had a deep dive session on Agent Core evals. Sorry, Agent Core observability. So Agent Core evaluation builds on top of that observability. So think of it like now that you are measuring what the agents are doing in production, now what you measure now you can improve using evaluations. So it sits right there. And with that, let's dive into the next topic.
Perfect. I mean, today, everything we are doing, right? We are building all of these agents with so much focus on technical capabilities. You know, which protocol to use? Are we using A2A, MCP? Um, which new protocols are coming out? Which features are we going to build with? What tools are we going to use? Which model is going to be used? But taking a step back, thinking about the bigger picture, right? The end goal is to make sure that our agents are providing a good user experience. And the good user experience to the parity to the mark that our humans are able to provide. So we want to be able to give the same experience as our experts are providing, but with the speed of an agent. So that's the idea that we're building. So the focus has to be to build trusted agents such that you're able to create a good user experience. A big part of building that consumer experience is to be able to trust our new, let's say, digital workforce that we are creating with these agents to do this job correctly. And for a fact, agents are non-deterministic by nature, right? Which means we are allowing them to act autonomously. And one way we can build these agents is by making sure that these agents have a job performance review of some form. So we are able to evaluate if this agent that we are building is delivering the correct results, it is effective, it can be relied to do a good job consistently. So it's all about, are your agents making the right decisions? Are they using the right tools? Are they providing the answers that are relevant and appropriate as well? Are they polite to the customers that they are talking to? Are they, representing the correct brand value that you want them to represent? And these are all difficult dimensions to measure because often they are very subjective. And they are critical to assess 100%, because we want to be able to rely on these agents to do a task, right?
Mhm.
And that's why evaluating an agent is an imperative.
Would you say this is called as a evaluation driven development?
Yeah, that's
Definitely.
that's a nice way to put it.
Yes.
And I really like the point that Akarsha shared here. Like your agents need a job performance review. Like all of us, right? We all work
Yeah.
in different type of teams, companies, and all those things. So yeah, even agents, as we work more with them as like our co-workers, definitely.
We need to make sure they're doing the best possible, right? So they have to be evaluated at every step of the way.
So what's the goal of this, right? So we evaluate the agent, and do we make our agent, maybe the prompts better, maybe the tool calling better? Is that the goal of this whole evaluation driven development? Would you say that?
So I think I would pivot to what Akarsha shared initially. I think the goal is to build trustworthy agents
Hmm.
and whatever it takes to get there. So if it requires to update system prompts, yes, absolutely. If it requires to like update tool descriptions, yes. But it may also require you to build like or sort of break the agents down into like specialist agent, build like multi-agent architectures and such. So it can be very complex, but you usually start with like just getting to work things done in a way that you're working backwards from what your end goal is,
Mhm.
which and we will talk deeply about success criteria in a few slides
Yeah.
later. But yeah, that's what I would work backwards from.
And also, Ishan, like, again, when we talk about evaluations, we always talk about LLM as a judge, right? So where does that fall in the big picture here?
Yeah, no, that's a very important question actually, and also like it's a part of your strategy too. Like, hey, I need LLMS judge to evaluate where I know that the agent is making decisions
Hmm.
and where the output that it needs to evaluate is coming based off of some sort of natural language. So for an example, you don't need LLMS judge where you are using some sort of an API call which always returns a fixed sort of a string value. Let's say you're looking up for employee ID
Hmm.
for whatever reason, right? You don't need LLMS judge to verify whether employee ID was returned or not. You need LLM as judge when your agent is using the whole context in order to answer something, whether it's passing the correct parameters or not, things like those.
So maybe like in the case of a research agent, which is probably gathering information from the internet, you're doing some tool calling. Maybe after that, you're doing a summarization, right? So maybe the summarization can be validated using an LLM as a judge.
Exactly. And think of this case also. Sometimes what happens with agents is that they would make all the right tool calls, or they will also pass the right parameters. But
Hmm.
for some reason, they just decide not to use any of that context and just answer things from memory, like complete hallucination of sort. So you need LLM as judge in order to judge those kind of things, but not necessarily that, hey, if it is picking up like let's say if there is employee ID type of
Like a more
search.
deterministic.
Yeah. If
Yeah.
something is deterministic, you should not use LLM as judge for
Yeah.
it.
Perfect. Okay. Thanks.
And also, I think the other approach could be that you could introduce a human in the loop to do the same. But at the scale that these agents are operating, it's difficult to actually have humans evaluate the responses and on every level and on every trace that's happening. So that's why LLM as a judge is a very good middle ground to allow us to do that.
Yeah, and I think you sort of so Akarsha just gave you like a peek of one of the demos that we have today. Like when you run things at scale, it's impossible for humans and subject matter experts to go and read everything. What do you do with all these scores, all these responses, and reasoning of evaluations? So we will also be diving deeper into that aspect today.
Excellent.
Okay, so getting back to why are we evaluating agents, right? Because agents may fail. Every time we are rolling out a new version of the agent, we are updating a model, or perhaps changing the source prompt, adding or removing the tools. So any of these could result in key failures, and therefore the agent not achieving the goal or not doing the job in an optimal way. So this usually starts with a quality failure, which includes hallucinations, poor reasoning, selection of the wrong tool, or just inconsistent outputs, right? And then these failures cascades to reliability issues. Now these include you can have context loss, you can have bad or poor error handling, or some security or vulnerability gaps that come in, and then those result in the agent efficiency on a bigger level, right? So that includes having to pay higher costs, having much higher latency, and therefore leading to the loss of customer trust. And that's where that is, let's say, the peak of panic in a way. So we do not want to have any sort of loss of customer trust or any loss of confidence in our product, because that is the worst case scenario. And by the time that happens, it's already too late. So that has already created a bad reputation for the product or the company, and might result in a loss of the current or future business. And we cannot afford to do that. This is why we need to be able to understand where the agent went wrong, so that you can fix it before the customer even experiences that failure, right? And that's where AgentCore evaluations comes into play. I will let Ishan talk about that.
Yeah. No, and thanks so much for bringing in the customer trust side of the things, and latency and cost, because a lot of times what happens with these AI agents is that when we build them, we think about like, hey, I want to give the fastest response. I want to like minimize the cost and want to generate some sort of like a good experience. Good experience could be like for customer facing app, it's customer facing app has a different type of customer experience versus process driven, event driven agent has a very different type of success criteria and like trust things. So as you work through these, it's super essential to manage it, because evaluation not only helps you to generate higher quality response, but it also helps you like minimize the cost, improve the latency, and finally maintain the trust that you want to build and the good experience you're building.
Continuously keep improving it.
Yeah, exactly. So in order to help our customers build agents in a trustworthy way, we launched AgentCore evaluations during reInvent this past December, just like a couple months ago. Currently, the service is in public preview, so all of us can go and use it, try it out. It gives like a lot of out of the box features that you need in order to like get started, get going with your agents, and be able to track the performance. So some of the quick features I want to cover today is one, that there are 13 built-in evaluators, and these evaluators helps you assess performance of your agent across like different dimensions at different levels as well. And we will look into what these 13 evaluators are and what I mean by different dimensions and levels in just a couple of slides. You can also build your own custom evaluators. And when I say evaluators, so currently the service supports LLM as judge in a reference-free style. So you could really build any type of evaluator, be it like on your tool selection or tool parameter accuracy side, or like across the entire session, looking at, hey, is my agent meeting the goal or not, and things like those.
So in this case, these are the 13 ones are the built-in ones, and then we can always customize these to our needs, right? Because we may have like a specific use case that we want to evaluate on, and maybe that could be done as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think one of the best practices is also that, hey, as you get started, right, there are a lot of moving things that you have while you're building an agent. Because oftentimes what happens with the speed of Gen AI is that you started building today, or let's say if you just started building earlier this week and you were experimenting with Model X, but as you know, Sonnet 4.6 is here now. So things are moving so fast within Gen AI that you need some of these undifferentiated heavy lifting to be done by, like, let's say these hyperscalers. So AWS is providing you with these built-in so that you get started quick. And as you sort of graduate from it, you can customize those specific to, like, hey, now that I understand what my agent does, what it doesn't do, I can customize specifically to those type of problems or the areas that I want to improve it on.
So maybe to think of it in a different perspective, do you say that maybe even if we use a smaller model and we get a good score out of the evaluation, maybe we can still continue to use that instead of paying more for a larger model with reasoning capabilities, right? So that could be. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so one of the good things with these 13 built-in evaluators is that that inference is managed for it. So what I mean by that is typically what happens when you evaluate using LLM as judge is that you are using your AWS account quota
Mhm.
of sort, right, for your number of tokens, number of requests, and all of that. For the 13 built-in evaluators, AgentCore evaluation is managing that for you. So it doesn't affect the quota that you have for your account. You can still continue to use your application in the way you are using, and it doesn't affect that. It's a very big plus point with using the 13 built-in evaluators.
That's a great point.
So yeah, other than this, there are so many other features, but I'm just going to focus more on like how do I get started with building agents and evaluating. So there are like you get a built-in dashboard ready to use, and it so AgentCore evaluation is a part of like AgentCore observability. So you get integrated dashboard. You can look at your trace, but now also get scores for those traces specifically exactly in the same place. So you have latencies, you have your information about what the agent did, the trajectories, and all those info along with evaluation in just one place. And since everything with AgentCore observability as well as evaluation is powered by CloudWatch, so you have all the amazing features that CloudWatch supports. So alarms, you could trigger downstream tasks using those alarms and things like those. All right, let's dive deeper into the evaluators that we have, and then we will sort of get into the demos.
Perfect. So the 13 built-in evaluators that Ishan was talking about, they are organized across 3 different dimensions, right? So first one is the session level metrics. This is where you are evaluating the entire conversation, right? Thinking in terms of did the agent achieve the user goal? What was assigned to it? Did the conversation succeed end to end? So this is where we are talking about the goal success rate, or we can even create a custom metric to have that. The second dimension would be the trace level, right? The trace level is where we are assessing the individual responses. So most of the quality signal that comes in, this is where it goes. So thinking in terms of, let's say, was the response that the agent gave, was it correct? Was it faithful to the provided context? Was it helpful for the user? And is it, following the instructions correctly or not? So this is where the trace level metrics come in. The third one is the span level. So this is where we are talking about the tool usage for the agents that are using the tools. Was it able to select the right tools for the task? Did it perhaps use the exact parameters that were assigned for that user query, which were the relevant ones, or let's say the correct ones for that certain tool, right? And here's the thing: we don't need all 13. We are able to mix and match and use the 3 or 4 or any number that actually matter to your specific use case. And if, let's say, this is not enough, this is not covering what you need, you can also build in the custom metrics. So to select the ones, we have this broad criteria that we want you to understand. Have you defined a clear success criteria for the agent? And what is the level that you want to evaluate the agent at? So first, talking about the success criteria. This is where we are talking about a bare minimum performance benchmark that you want to achieve so that you're able to successfully launch an agent into production, right? And this is, often a balance between the operational cost, the latency, and then the acceptable error on quality that we have. So perhaps talking about an example, let's say I want my customer service agent to give a response under 5 seconds. And now this is a non-negotiable for me. And I want 90% of my responses to be of good quality, that are solving the user's problems. And I want the cost per user session to be, let's say, less than $5. So something like this, right? So we create the success criteria so that we can evaluate our agents on different levels to achieve this goal, right? So session level evaluation would, let's say in this case, track something where we are talking about, is this solving all of the pain points of the user across all the questions that they have asked, right? And then we talk about trace level evaluation, where it's talking about the quality of response of which of every question that the user has asked, right? And then the span level would be the individual tool calls. Is it making it the correct way? Is it using the right parameters? So we are here. So the main thing we have to think about is, how do you select the metrics that you should use, right? And for the most part, it depends on the use case, on the business domain, and what kind of compliance needs that you have. But on a general level, to give a more generic guideline, we start with the output evaluation. So this includes metrics like faithfulness, correctness, perhaps response relevance, and the goal success rate. If your agent is user-centric, add more helpfulness or harmlessness metric to it. If we are talking about having, the multiple tools that are being used by the agent, add tool evaluators to it. And for custom evaluators, if you're looking at solving perhaps a specific pattern or very nuanced, a very niche use case, you can think about adding like trajectory evaluator, perhaps to debug or to do some reasoning analysis. And now this is a great start. Now let's look at what are the different ways we can evaluate.
So that's right. So if anyone wants to dive deep into what is behind this these built-in evaluators, I put a link in the chat, so you can see the prompt itself, the prompt template that is used to build those built-in evaluators. So it's kind of available and for anyone to look at, right? So, but one question here is, we always talk about hallucination, right? So how do we measure like if a particular response is hallucinated, if the model is hallucinating on a particular response? Do we take all of these entries and say, maybe get a custom metric, or how do we approach that?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So for hallucination, there are different types of hallucination. Hallucination can be that your agent or your model did not decide to use context and gave answer on its own knowledge based off of what it knows, right, from its training. That's also hallucination. Hallucination can also be it used it incorrectly, and it can have number of things there. Usually a combination of faithfulness and correctness helps you get like a balanced view of, hey, is this hallucinated or not? And the way AgentCore evaluators work, so everything is open telemetry based, so it looks at the full context of what the agent has, the instructions, that's your system prompt which defines the behavior of the agent. So it looks at that, looks at the trace, looks at the whole context and the final response that's generated, and then it sort of judges based on the rubric that we have across these different evaluators. So, in short, a combination of faithfulness and correctness would help you with that. And even response relevance can be a part of it, because it can also happen that you may have asked like, hey, what's and just to keep it simple, maybe you just asked like, hey, what's the weather right now in Seattle, and it sort of gives you some like
Right.
a random answer.
Mhm.
So
Or
response relevance can also be a part of your, but usually balance of faithfulness and correctness.
Excellent. So it's a combination of those
Mm.
metrics that you will look at, right? So
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Let's keep moving.
All right. So let's look at the two common ways of doing evaluation. So I'll start with what we have on the right hand side here, the on-demand evaluation. So as you are building your AI agent, or let's say if you have already put it in prod, but now you want to dive deeper into specifics, you would use something more of like a real-time style API where you have your agent, you have some test scenarios, and you are testing it, getting a sense of what does this agent do in these specific situations. Maybe you're changing the environment of the agent and things like those. So on-demand is an API that AgentCore evaluation supports exactly for these type of use cases. Another type of a use case that the on-demand supports is like, let's say you are building CI/CD pipelines because you want to make sure that no faulty deployment goes in the production, so that your agent is performant and it's performing on your selected test cases. So on-demand really helps along those lines, and we will be doing a demo shortly. We only have a couple of slides left. So that's where the on-demand piece comes in. AgentCore evaluation also has online evaluation, which is where like the end-to-end management of like fetching the trace from the AgentCore observability to applying evaluations on top of it and giving you in a dashboard form happens within the online evaluation. In case of on-demand evaluation, you do not get a dashboard, because hey, this is for you as a developer to use it in your IDE, in your environment, so you are taking the decisions right there live in real time, because hey, you don't want to like go into some dashboard and see what's going on there, because like it's just a matter of fractions, which is where you might lose an idea that you may have or you want to try. So on demand really helps along those lines. All right, so here's a very quick view of how AgentCore evaluation generally works, and this is more so your online style evaluation, but it can also be for your on-demand, depending on how you see it. So if you start from the right-hand side again, which is the on-demand from the previous slide, so you as an agent owner, you have already logged your traces of your agent in excuse me, in let's say AgentCore observability. So you're fetching those traces on your own, because hey, on demand is working directly in your environment, in your CI/CD and things like those. So you fetch those, you apply evaluation on top of it, and we will see like the code for applying these evaluators is like really small, like probably what 20 lines of total code, I would say. We will do a demo there. So you apply that there. You don't get a dashboard because hey, it's directly giving you the responses and a reasoning in your environment. But if you're looking at the online version of it, which is where you have deployed an agent, your users are interacting with an agent. Now, in that case, your agent is logging all your traces to AgentCore observability, and then the service, depending on the configuration you have specified, which is the next slide exactly in the demo, where I show you how to define that configuration. So based on your configuration, the service AgentCore evaluation automatically fetches the trace on your behalf, applies evaluation on top of it, put it into a dashboard. As you can see, like a screenshot at the bottom of this slide, there is a corp travel evaluator where you can see different type of scores. So it does that out of the box for you, making it super smooth and easy for you.
So what you're saying is it's not a lot of going into setting up evaluations, right?
So my demo is literally 27 seconds. It takes 27 seconds for me to configure
Yeah,
the whole evaluation pipeline that then runs continuously.
excellent. We have a question in the chat coming up. So how does Amazon integrate with internal data and agent feedback to improve generative AI in its services? Right. So, we do not use customer data to train our models, and just to answer that, right? So, this is not based on customer data.
Yep, exactly. All right, so demo time. Let me know if you can. So what I have done is, since these demos with evaluation, they take time. And time here is, let's say I invoke an agent, the trace gets generated, then the evaluation happens. So just for me to show you just one example may take a couple of minutes. So what I have done is I have just recorded them in a video. And the last demo where I'm using the results, I'm showing that live because that's what I wanted to show you. Because like the real takeaway for you is not to like just, hey, I want to set this up, because that's not going to give you the value. The value that you'll get is how do I use what this does in order for me to be able to improve my application.
So this shows you the entire life cycle of.
All right. So excellent. So
Yeah.
see the demo here in action.
So here what I'm doing is I'm setting up my online configuration where I have 3 steps. One is to specify my agent, and I'll just take a pause here. So in my agent, what I have done is I'm going to take a step back. You get two options. One, I could just directly define an endpoint of my agent. This endpoint is available to you if you have deployed your AI agent on AgentCore runtime. And that's when you can just seamlessly provide a dropdown. But in other cases, when you have deployed your agent elsewhere, which could be, let's say, Amazon EKS, EC2, Lambda, even like outside of AWS on a different cloud provider. So as long as you can send those traces using A dot is Amazon's open telemetry distribution. So as long as you can send it using that to one of the CloudWatch log groups, and then you can specify what that CloudWatch log group is, AgentCore evaluation can seamlessly work for you.
So agents can be anywhere in order to run the evaluation here.
Exactly.
So you don't need to run your agents in AgentCore to be able to do the evaluations, but it's always good to get more visibility if you use AgentCore.
Yeah.
Take it.
And also because like if you have your agents hosted on AgentCore, you get like those system level logging and system metrics too, which is usually like if you are running it elsewhere, you may not have those.
Mhm.
Depending on like where you are running those. So usually what we have seen is AgentCore related traces are 20% more richer than like a traditional agentic trace. All right. So of the 3 steps that you need in order to set this up, this is step number 1, where you select or specify what your agent is. Sorry, I'll go back here. Yeah. So we were exactly at this point. The next thing is for you to select the evaluators that you want. And as you can see, right, I'm just selecting them. There is like, this is super easy, straightforward. If I have a custom evaluator, I can just set that up and that's it. Like you specify if there is any filter criterias or any sampling rate. And to think about filter criterias, you can think of like, let's say you are defining user ID or user group as a part of when your agent is invoked. So you can really focus on, maybe you want to specify premium users as the criteria to be filtered. You can define that. So whatever the criteria, your business logic is, define that in your trace first, which is a part of observability, and then this sort of picks from there. And you can define the sampling rate. It really helps you manage the cost, because with continuous monitoring, you are sort of getting a sense of if my agent is still performing the way I want it to, and is it meeting the criterias I have. And once you do that, you just save it. So since I was explaining, I took more time. But if you look at the entire recording, this is 27 seconds it took for me to like really select things through and like get it going. And now
So
what happens is, yeah, go ahead.
yes, so what we did is some ClickOps there, but agent core evaluations, does it support CloudFormation or CDK, right? So can we do that as well?
So right now the service is in preview.
Yep,
So in preview, those features are not usually supported, but we do have our APIs. So you could currently use the APIs.
excellent. And we also have a question coming in the chat. You know, agent core evaluations, understanding that it's part of the responsible AI program, and should be included to understand the security concerns of agentic, frameworks out there, right? So is that something? Is that how we would see this?
So Agent Core Eval is more so to get a sense of the quality of your agent, and quality is multifold here, as we were talking about like session level, trace level, and span level. So if my agent is taking the right actions, is it using the context wisely and things like those? So that's what the majority focus is. But let's say if you are looking into the responsible AI side of the things, we do have, I think, one or two evaluators. But if, let's say, they don't meet the needs that you have, you can create custom evaluator.
There you go, right? So you have the prompt template samples, and you can always customize them to make your custom
Yeah.
evaluator.
And I think that's a perfect segue into like how do you create a custom evaluator in the first place. So this is another demo of like creating custom evaluator. This is a 4-part story here. You select the template just to get started quickly. And as Anil, you mentioned, these prompts are published publicly. So you can also load from there or directly from here so that you have context variables. You select the model of your choice. So any model that's available on Amazon Bedrock can be used. And this would also support Sonnet 4.6 because hey, it got launched, right? So you select all those, you define the rubric that you have. And rubric is very critical because this is exactly what's used in order to get a score, get the category for the evaluation task. So evaluation is a task that your LLM is performing in this case, given the context of the trace.
So one quick question there is, as you pulled up the model on the right side, so that's the important difference that you mentioned earlier
Mhm.
about the built-in versus the custom evaluators, right? So in custom evaluator, you can pick your model that you want to use to run the evaluations.
Exactly. So in custom, you pick the model. And I also mentioned about the inference side of the thing. So inference management is available only on the built-in evaluators and not the custom evaluator, because you are choosing things in your custom way. So the like service doesn't do that in that case. So the quota comes out directly from your quota.
Excellent.
So what I'll do next is I'm going to quickly show you how these specific APIs work. So specifically focusing first on the on-demand side of the things, and then we look at the demo for on-demand. Then we will look into the online and demo for online. And then finally, how do we combine all things together and best practices from here? So the way on-demand API works is you as a developer are responsible for one, instrumenting your agent. And agent instrumentation these days has become much easier with the open source libraries. Depending on what type of agentic framework you have, it may have different type of instrumentations. Could be open telemetry based, could be open inference based. So that's some sort of like decision point for you to decide how and what type of instrumentation you need. ADOT supports both open telemetry as well as open inference. So it just makes it much easier for you to really like instrument your agents. Once you have instrumented, your agent then produces the open telemetry session traces and spans that can then be used in order to evaluate it. So you as a developer, one, instrument your agent, two, like fetch those traces and prepare the data set that's needed in order to be evaluated, because the whole concept of on demand is that you as a developer are in control and you want everything in your environment. So let's say if you're working in Visual Code Studio, you want everything right there. on demand is the way to go. Then you invoke the APIs, which are again invoking foundation models on Amazon Bedrock. And really, you are getting the responses as well as the reasoning behind why the evaluation score is in your environment. Okay. So now let's look at a demo of this. So what I have here is I have built a travel-based agent. All of these tools that it has, I think 7 of them.
Can you zoom that in? Sure.
Yes.
Okay. Actually, I think it should be okay.
Is it
Right.
okay? Cool, cool, cool.
Yeah.
So if we look at this agent, what this is doing is it is a travel helper agent. It can search things for you. It can get you the exact information, your flight information, hotel information, any travel restrictions, things like those. All these tools are calling some real-time API and things like those. This is my system prompt in my baseline experimentation. I think I didn't cover this piece. So for evaluation, you think about that the very first agent that you built that acts as your baseline. It may happen that you may have ground truth data. It may also happen that you don't have ground truth data given your use case and the nuances that you may be facing. So it doesn't matter that what you have at that point. Ideally, yes, it's best if you have ground truth data so that it becomes much easier to baseline things. But even if you don't have it, you can still baseline things, because if you look at evaluation as a task, the new LLM model, and new here is like not the same LLM model that's in your AI agent in that session, but it could be same model, but it's like in a different session window, right? So that LLM is now, the task for it is to look at what the agent did and sort of give you an idea of whether it was good or not. So that's the task for any of your LLM based evaluator. And then you may define further subcategories, that was it partially correct, was it like a little bit better than partially correct, and things like those. So here, that's what I'm doing. I'm just setting up my baseline agent, the very first agent I built. This is my very first prompt. Now, what I'm doing here is I am deploying this agent first. Reason to deploying it on AgentCore runtime here is because I want to finally deploy this agent in AgentCore runtime if and when I go to production. How does that help me is, and I'm not covering the process of deploying because I think, Anil, we have had like a couple of sessions on show and tell about how do you deploy agents on runtime. So I'm skipping that piece, but overall, it's a super easy process. You containerize your agent code and deploy it. So why we are deploying it in the first place is because you want to test your agent exactly where it's going to run. If you remember from the slides we were talking about earlier, your agent evaluation isn't just the quality side of the things, but it is also your cost and latency. And latency isn't just your agent runtime, it's like the full story of like invoking agent, your machine getting spun up and things like those. That's what happens, right, in production. So you're looking at that, you're looking at quality generated from there. So now if you look at this, I'm calling this experiment equal to baseline, just setting this my baseline version, and I'm invoking this agent that I have deployed on AgentCore runtime. And if you look at this, this is just like me passing through some questions. Me passing through these questions here. Oh, sorry, I think I clicked accidentally on it. So sorry about it. Yeah, right here. So here we are, maybe I'll do it this way. I'll just manually move this. Yes, that makes it much easier. So what I'm doing here is I'm really just invoking this agent by passing in some session ID, and this session has multiple questions within it. So it's a multi-turn experience in this case. And what's happening here is my agent gets invoked. It invokes tools because it has those 7 tools as I was showing earlier. And then like you can look at these questions. Question number 1, this person is planning their honeymoon to Maldives. There is a response generated. There is a follow-up question with a response and things like those. In this session, there were 5 questions. Then session 2 and so on. So you can first invoke these. And as you see, I'm not saving anything other than just the session IDs.
Mhm.
So, and I'm showing you the on-demand side of the things. It sort of runs through all these. This is like what those questions are that I'm asking. So this is the first one I was specifically talking about, and then other ones. And then once I have asked all these questions, my agent produced traces. Now what I'm doing is I am really just passing the session ID to my evaluators. And this is all the code that you need in order to evaluate using on demand, like 100% of the code. You are
Mhm.
passing in the session IDs and you are just invoking the evaluators. And these APIs know automatically that, hey, I have the session ID, I can fetch things, I can use these in order to perform the evaluation and give you the scores. And since this is on demand, I get everything right here in this environment. There is no dashboard, of course. Hey, on demand, right? I'm using it
Yep.
in an offline capacity. um, so moving forward, this is where I'm now loading the results, because now that my evaluators have performed their job, so I'm just loading these data sets here that they have created for me. And as we can see, I performed like 8 different evaluator metrics. There are different type of scores that they generated. I'm looking at min max also, just to get like a sense of this. This is across like 20-25 sessions. And then one of the specific question, where one of the sessions scored actually a 0 score for goal success, because my user asked something, the agent did something else, agent did not meet the user goal. So you can see the full explanation of why the evaluator gave it a 0 score.
Yeah, and for every evaluation that's generated, there's an explanation for it.
Yeah.
So there's a reasoning of why the LLM is generating that particular score, so that you can understand as
Yep.
well.
To improve the system, right? So you need that feedback as well.
Exactly. So now I have since run through this like across 20 sessions, but as you are testing it, you may have like 1,000 test cases, 1,000 sessions, because you really want to like be able to trust it. With 20 sessions, you may be comfortable doing a demo in front of your leadership, but not like putting it in front of your customer on your, company's webpage. So for that to happen, you are doing more comprehensive testing. And how that happens is you increase your test cases, and you don't have to start with like a real super set of questions of like thousands and thousands of sample. Even if you have 10, right, just keep them, continuously build your corpus as you move through different stages of like building this AI agent. Now that this is my stage one, this was just my baseline. I then analyzed all these reasonings that I have from the evaluators. And I'll show you the full demo of what I did after this. But for continuity's sake, assume that I did some analysis, came up with a better system prompt, and updated my system prompt next. That's the next step I took after I got evaluation scores across all these sessions. So now moving a little bit forward from here. Yes. So this is my updated system prompt. Uh, on a video, you'll be able to compare that these two system prompts are different. So this is my new system prompt. Everything else is same model, same temperature, everything else. And I performed the same analysis again, ran through the same on-demand API again. And what I see here is between these two system prompts across these 8 metrics, I see some improvements, and that was my trial one. Since I am still doing a demo here today, you want to like dig deeper, define success criteria, and work on that. Like, hey, if it is meeting that performance that you need, and from there onwards, you decide whether to deploy it or not. And you would use your subject matter experts in order to analyze these reasonings that I was showing earlier. But as you scale thousands, maybe 10,000 test cases, even your subject matter experts can't go and read through that, because that's like too much of human time investment, right? What you can do is you could take some hybrid style approach where you have an LLM or some model, and I'm going to show you a demo next about it. You can take some hybrid approach where you get these LLM models really good at understanding the text to give you some evidence driven insights around what's going bad. you have your subject matter experts exactly look at those and then come up with like better prompts. Or you can even do meta prompting from there. Like you can make it as complex as y- you want it to be, or as simple as you want it to be, depending on where you are in that performance threshold gap.
So you update the whatever the criteria it is, and then you evaluate, you test it. If it looks good, then you continue to
Exactly.
improve it again. If it looks bad, then maybe iterate on it, right? So
Yep. Yeah.
So
exactly.
create the stats and create a bell curve from that, and
Yeah.
then understand the extremities of like where the tail is, why is it the case, what is happening, and then based on that.
Yeah. And oftentimes you'll find that this is like you are getting really good performance on like majority of groups within your data, but there is one specific group of questions that your agent is not able to handle. So for an example, I'll give you a good example here. Let's say your agent has some sort of like goal success metric, and it's still a travel agent, and you as a user are asking about some questions where your agent needs a follow-up request or follow-up information from you as a user.
Hmm.
And since you evaluate it midway, maybe your evaluators would give it a zero score or lower score because your agent did not conduct an action there. So you also want to look at what your evaluators are doing, not just what your agent is doing. Because, hey, at the end of the day, if you are using LLM as judge, LLM is non-deterministic in this. So your LLM as judge or judges can also hallucinate in cases. So you want to also tailor for that.
That's an important point. Yep.
Yeah. So let's say, assuming that in my use case, this specific metric works for me, meets my success criteria, I would deploy this agent. And the deployment piece is I can deploy my agent on AgentCore runtime, or it could be elsewhere like ECS, EKS, other cloud. When my user invokes my agent, I write my open telemetry based traces to AgentCore observability. And then rest of the pipeline is that AgentCore evaluation picks from there, conducts eval, puts score back there. And you as a developer or your subject matter experts can go in and see. Now, what does that dashboard looks like that you get? I have been talking about this dashboard and, haven't shown you thus far.
And
So
we are getting close to the end of the hour also, right? So
yeah, exactly. So here's the dashboard. This is like your agent core evaluation dashboard on top of what your agent core observability dashboard is. It just adds another tab to it. So you can one see the trends. This is like all your trends around different evaluators that you have set up. And if you look at this closely, this is exactly those metrics that I selected in my very first demo. So one, you get trends, but trends are good to get a sense of how things are. You really want to go dig deeper into like specific trace. So I'm going to open a specific trace here. You can look at your session evaluator on the top here. Then you can also see your trace level evaluators. I did not in my original demo select any tool based evaluator, but if you do that, that would also show up exactly here. So you get a score, you see the reasoning. In this case, correctness is just zero 0.5. It's because my agent decided not to use the context properly. So there was some mix up in the final response by not using or relying on the tool responses. So that's why this result is bad. But yeah, that's really like the crux of what the service offers you out of the box. You don't have to build this dashboard. This just comes out of the box.
Ishan, one question that I've been hearing a lot is about how do we, see the data drift? So what part of the pattern do we have to notice to see the data drift that's been happening?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So I'm going to go back to one of my previous slides. Remember, I was showing you my baseline trial one, and then let's say trial one is the final scores for me. In order to detect drift, what you are going to do is it's little bit of like scientific process also, but it can be very simple as, hey, I know what my trial one scores are. Is my continuous evaluation giving me the similar scores? Maybe they are within like 1 or 2% delta from these scores. It would be a decent signal for you to look at, hey, is there a drift or not? But let's say if you want to get more nuanced around it, you can look into like calibration of these LLM judge scores against like your subject matter scores and see whether it's meeting your subject matter expert criteria or not. So there are multiple ways, and then you can even go further down the road by like having a panel of judges and things like those to really like depending on the sensitivity from here actually. But these two like are easy ways to get started with like drift detection.
Thank you.
Yeah. So now the Anil, how much time do we have left?
We have actually 4 more minutes. So
Okay. So I have
One more thing I would like to ask. So the code that you showed, where can our viewers?
yeah,
If
we're
you want.
actually. I'm just putting a link in the chat. We have that going on. So it should be coming up in a second.
very
Yeah.
cool. So what I'll do is I'll show you the demo of like how do you improve the agents in about a minute time. We already since Anil has shared the link, you already have the link to that code.
Mhm.
So what I have done is I have already downloaded a sample of 10 of the sessions that I had. And this is like your AgentCore samples repo. If you go to tutorials, folder number 7 is evaluation. Within that, folder number 7 is using evaluation results. And I'm just using one of the notebooks in this. And it does list down in a more comprehensive way of like what does the process of improving agents look like and how you should think about it and work through this. So what I'm showing you here is I have built an agent which has its own sub-agent, and it creates those sub-agent on the fly right here to analyze these reasoning scores and group them into like different type of problem areas. So you have access to all of this code available directly in the repo. I'm skipping things through so that I can show you the meat of it. What I'm doing is I'm asking in this code to look at all my reasoning scores where the score is less than or equal to zero point 0.7 for any evaluator. And then what it does is it looks at, finds evidences, things like those, in order to find the problems that we are seeing through evaluation, and then comes up with a new system prompt. So feel free to take a look at this. As you can see, this was my system prompt in this case. This is exactly the system prompt I used. I would run it, and then what happens is it created this file for me. So I'm going to like zoom in a little so that all of us can
Mhm.
see. So this is what this agent generated for me. One, it gives me summary of what is happening. It tells me the top 3 problem is one, that my agent is fabricating tool search parameters. So it's not sticking to the user request, and it not only just like comes up with the problems, but it is really giving you the trace IDs and session IDs to look at the evidence piece. Then tells you like of the 43 low scoring sessions, it comes in 10 and things like those. And yeah, you can continue to take a look at this. It gives you a system prompt at the end. All right. So with
Excellent.
that,
So yeah. So what is the takeaway for our viewers then? Right, we are almost at time.
yeah. So we have one. You have shared the link already to the GitHub sample. So we have that. We have workshops, documentations, and code SDK based documentation available for all of our customers. Feel free to take a look. Let us know if you have any questions.
Excellent. So work on your improving your agent with AgentCore evaluations, and I think that's it from this session today. We'll come back again next week, same time. Thank you, Ishan and Akarsha, for joining us and giving us a deep dive.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, everyone.